You are welcome to yet another episode of HN What's Your Say? The leading listening show, where we discuss real issues with real people like you. We are still featuring R. Kelly. Real name Robert Sylvester Kelly. Also known as the R&B King. The government prosecution at a press conference outside Dirksen Courthouse were asked whether R. Kelly will be serving both the New York and Chicago sentences concurrently or consecutively, and one of the prosecutors was quick to suggest that in related cases like these, they can always ask the court that the defendant serves the two sentences consecutively to mean that he serves the 30 years given in New York, and thereafter the 90 years they are proposing for Chicago. This we found to be not just weird thinking but also malicious intent from the government, which made sure to separate the two cases as a way to increase their chances of finding a conviction, but now wish to have the two cases dealt with as though it was a single trial in order to maximize R. Kelly's prison time. This only shows how greedy the government has been and still is when it comes to getting so much out of the case against R. Kelly. I suspect if it was possible for them to take his life instead and get away with it, it's what they would have preferred to do. I find it rather unprofessional for a government attorney to suggest the possibility of two completely different cases attracting consecutive sentences. That is way out of line. While the law allows that if a defendant is charged with several crimes addressed in a single trial, sentences can be served consecutively, this does not apply to convictions from separate trials altogether. The New York case and the Chicago case are two completely different and separate trials and cannot be treated as one. That's why when referring to R. Kelly in Chicago, he is not called defendant from New York. It's also the reason some of the witnesses who testified in New York could also give separate testimonies again in Chicago. A government attorney proposing that such a legal mistake is possible shows just how incompetent many of these officials are. No wonder they did mishandle the case against R. Kelly a great deal, and they will be losing the fight in due time. Many people have been wondering why attorney Jennifer Bondine has twice been suggesting alternative sentences for R. Kelly, and not demanding only acquittals and nothing else. We need to remember one thing, and that's that the fight for R. Kelly's freedom is not ending with the Chicago sentence. Whatever filings and suggestions R. Kelly's attorney is making will eventually become reference points when appealing the two cases in the near future. When the government attorneys and the trial court judges are being screened for their decisions during the appeal process, it makes a whole difference when there is a record that shows they were advised to do the right thing, but they simply chose not to listen to the defense. In fact, our main concern with regard to the New York trial is largely about the importation of charges alien to his case, such as the RICO violation, which suggests R. Kelly operated an organized criminal enterprise that they clearly can't prove. Such charges were only introduced in order to beef up the sentence with more years than would have been without it. And it's not just the RICO, even the other New York charges remain highly questionable until today. The government failed miserably at proving that R. Kelly committed any of these crimes, which included RICO and Mann Act violation, along with exploitation. The idea of child labor in itself sounds rather concocted. I know no record of a child being used to make money by the R&B King. If taking care of adult women from feeding them to dressing them is now referred to as child labor, then we have a huge problem. Meanwhile, attorney Jennifer Bondine is offering the court multiple options to choose from, including the acquittal. In other words, she is saying either issue a lighter sentence, which we will surely deal with in an appeal, or if they prefer not to waste everyone's time, they may choose to move straight to acquittal and also save on government resources. From the day Jennifer Bondine took over this case, the government has been on tension. She brought in another view of things, and this was evident during the Chicago trial. It sounds as though in New York there was never a cross-examination. In fact, the New York legal team needs to be investigated to establish who their master was that they were working for. The moment Bondine took over, suddenly R. Kelly had a defense, and the government, which was caught unawares even after cheating on 3 counts, lost 7 out of 13 counts in Chicago. Even better now, Andrew Wyatt is finally on the team to provide yet another ingredient to the appeal broth. Of late, R. Kelly's hope to regain his freedom has been rekindled, citing the recent step taken by District Attorney Kim Foxx to drop Chicago state charges in fear of another possible defeat. With this legal team, we are surely heading somewhere, and progress is being registered each day. According to Walter, it seriously bothered me too to hear the government officials suggest the possibility of serving the New York and Chicago sentences consecutively. I quickly thought to myself, how is this even possible? Okay, we understand whatever sentences each verdict carries in the same trial can be served consecutively, but not sentences from two different trials. The government chose to split their operation into two trials in order to maximize their chances against R. Kelly, and also to send some to their conspiracy New York counterpart Judge Ann Donnelly to issue assured guilty verdicts. But this worked against them in a way. They ended up losing 70% of what was actually the most important trial of the two, and the damage is already done. The New York trial was completely bogus, the witnesses were not credible at all, and the charges themselves were inappropriate. Perhaps if they had opted for a single trial, they would have won the most relevant of charges, as R. Kelly clearly lacked a defense before Bondine took over. Their greed for more and more turned out a recipe for failure on the side of the government, and trust me, they are going to lose this case in the end. According to Martha, the culture of lying on R. Kelly has been the dominant force surrounding this case ever since it all started with his arrest back in 2019. And of late it's ending the same way with the new claims by this young girl that calls herself the daughter of R. Kelly and Aaliyah. It's just the very same pattern of occurrences from the word go. Lies after lies. What's annoying the most is to find that it's not just uninformed people lying on R. Kelly, but even the government itself. They all know the truth but have chosen to deceive the whole world that R. Kelly operated a racketeering enterprise, all aimed at maximizing his sentence to an indirect life in prison. Whether they like it or not, they will not be giving R. Kelly consecutive sentences from two trials. Otherwise, we shall be forced to question the legitimacy of such an action, and all the previous moves the government has been making to corner R. Kelly and deny him a chance to regain his freedom. I hope we are all together in this. If you wish to take part in a live interview on this channel discussing any of these topics, let us know by emailing us on sashahnnewsroom@gmail.com for scheduling. That is all we had for you today on HN What's Your Say? To keep updated whenever we post a new video, subscribe to this channel now. Also remember to hit the bell icon and enable notifications. And feel free to share your opinions with us in the comment section below, and let us know if you would like us to publish your views in our next release. We value all our subscribers' opinions.